Man, what's going on, man? Welcome back to another episode. I'm just saying, I'm Jeremiah again.
I'm Gabe.
Man, last week we did an episode before doing a little season preview over Tennessee. 2 games have happened since then.
Well, we previewed the season, but we talked about the exhibition against Indiana, and we played that last Sunday.
Yeah.
And then Monday we started off the regular season against Gardner-Webb.
Yeah. What did you think off the 2 games?
Yeah, I'm gonna get right into it. Over to start the exhibition against number 17 Indiana. It's a good team, very comparable to the Vols in like talent and then like national presence. It's definitely a really good team to welcome in to start to get your feet wet for some of these guys. And it was tough. It was a lot of.
It was a pretty rough game.
They did lose. They fell. The Vols. Yeah, the Vols fell 66 to 62.
Yeah.
Trying to think of the right word that I would use
for the game.
Yeah, not necessarily rusty, but definitely working out the kinks on that.
Yeah, that's why I would say working out the kinks, man.
It wasn't anything to like. One, it's an exhibition. As a rule of thumb, like I'm never going to get left out of shape over a preseason game. Both like for better and for worse. Like if they came out and won 166, like I wouldn't get too. You just never try to get too high or too low. Especially how those things. Because these guys are just trying to get in. Obviously, Rick Barnes ran a lot of different sets, a lot of different formations to see kind of what he liked, what kind of worked best. But for me, and we'll talk about it, I think the main thing to get out of this is how the new guys played, especially the ones that hadn't played SEC ball before. And they all...
Nah, I mean, you can't even sugarcoat it. It just was a pretty bad game.
Defensively, I actually didn't really have too many.
It kind of seems like Barnes got them to be able to buy into that defensive.
Yeah, Rick Barnes is always going to have a good defensive team, but we'll start at the top with Igor Milicic, the power out of Charlotte again.
I think I like his game a lot after just watching, like, especially from the exhibition to the first game. I like his game and, like, how he's, like, ready to, like, especially, because Zakai likes to push the pace, and he's ready to, like, run with Zakai up the middle of the floor, ready for those dump offs, and on those screening rolls, he's already slipping to the rim, ready to attack the rims. I think I like his game a lot, for sure.
I did too, and like I said, he'd only attempted 1 3 in the exhibition against Indiana, which, that's kind of, you'd want to see him shoot more, because that was like the point of him coming, was he was going to be able to stretch the floor, and that's just the kind of guy that Rick Barnes hasn't had before, that kind of... he is European, but that very European style of player. I mean, he can move well. He's 6'10".
Yeah,
he moves well. He's power 4. He can play center if he needed to. He can, in theory, hopefully will end up stretching the ball. Didn't get up too much shots. Played plenty of time, but didn't get up too many shots.
Only 7 shots in 20 minutes. That's
20 minutes, 7 shots. He played a decent amount. Looked pretty decent. One thing that we had mentioned in the preview, though, Jeremiah, that I did like was I had questioned his defensive abilities.
Yeah.
Just because, like I said, he's playing in Charlotte, and he wasn't necessarily, like, he averaged a couple blocks, but he wasn't necessarily maybe 1 block, but he wasn't necessarily the defensive stalwart that, like, you would need or hope to have down low, especially in this kind of offense, where defense is key in the game plan. But looked pretty good. He was able to hold his own on the boards.
He needs to take
No, I mean, he looked pretty decent. He stayed well.
He led us in rebounds, actually, I believe.
Yeah, I think he led us in rebounds. This is talking about Indiana, but that's where we're going out there looking at him. And then Indiana had a couple of guys. They were pretty big and tall down low. He was hanging in there with him, especially for a guy that likes to stretch the floor and be mobile. For him to also need to get down low and be able to keep his own. It's a good sign. I was kind of worried there. Not necessarily worried, but just like questioned like how he would do. And then he looked good, and talk about it more when we get to that game. But against Gardner-Webb, I thought he continued to look pretty okay there on the defensive side. Obviously, again, Rick Barnes' defense, just kind of the way that they play. They're always really scrappy, they play hard, they play physical. And honestly, if you're willing to do that for Rick, then
he's going to play.
Then you're going to play well, and you're going to find dude. Felix Lakpara, the transfer out of Ohio State, another guy who he has played high-level basketball. I mean, power 4, Big Ten basketball. He played okay, too. Same thing. He played more minutes. Maybe you could argue a little less productive, but I think he was 3 of 6, and had 6 rebounds in 30 minutes, and he played good too. Again, that's going to be your real guy that you're hoping who was going to get the like most of the defensive assignments, especially down low, and he had some blocks. He had a bunch of goaltends. I don't have the number for how many, but he had so many. He would get up and he just swat these shots down, and they kept getting called for goaltends. I think he had some more in Gardner-Webb.
I really like his rim protection. Like in the exhibition game, I think he had about 3 or 4 blocks, man. It's just like even with goaltends, I don't think goaltends are a bad thing because it's like he's being aggressive.
Yeah, it's being no problem at all.
Those shots around the rim, and that's something that I feel like we have not lack because Adu and Awaka were really like rim protect, but we need a guy that can, if he's averaging three blocks a game, that's insane for us. So especially like when we got the perimeter defenders and Meshack and Ziegler, so that was a pretty eye opening thing for me from the exhibition. But another eye-opening thing that had me worried from the exhibition was Chaz Lanier.
Yeah, Chaz is the guy we talked about being able to
90.
the score. He's on a bunch of watch lists. We had him kind of pegged to kind of take over the reins as like your leading go-to scorer, your final shot kind of guy, and he really struggled that first game, probably more so than others, and that's natural, especially him at the guard position. He was asked to be the scorer.
He was 3 for 16 at 20 minutes, 2 for 12 from 3-point line.
Yeah, it is what it is. I mean, you can't excuse it. 3 is pretty putrid. In 20 minutes, I mean, to get 16 shots up in 20 minutes, and you're not making most of them. In defense of him, I'll admit, he came off the bench, which is kind of surprising at first, and we'll get into Jordan Gainey and Zakai here in a second. But he came off the bench, and he let it fly. I respect it. I kind of did respect that he genuinely, I'm not just trying to sugarcoat it, I did genuinely respect that he kept shooting. Because when you have a guy like that who is a shooter, who is a scorer, who is a baller, like that first game, like it really does no good for him to, now he can't keep, but it really does no good for him in exhibition and early on in these games when you're playing these smaller schools to just not try to get accustomed to not only the speed, but the physicality. Just the way that people play in Power 4, Power 5, and SEC ball in particular. So I really didn't mind that he kept shooting and he kept working, and he ended up leading us in scoring against Gardner-Webb in the first game. So again, not quite as efficient, but still led us in scoring, was able to really get out of that slump. I mean, he went from having, however many points he did against, 10 points against Indiana, and then he had 18 against Gardner-Webb. So he showed the improvement. And a guy like that, you just need him to get used to it and to keep trying. And hopefully, when you get into the season, when you get into the thick of it, especially when you get to starting SEC play, he'll kind of already kind of filled out his form in that. Another person who struggled was Zakai Ziegler, our reigning defensive player of the year, our leader, our starting point guard. 2 of 10 from the field, also not that good.
From the 3-point line, it's like you only shot 3s, like you didn't.
Yeah,
I did not know.
He was 2 of 10 from the field, 2 of 10 from 3-pointers.
Yeah.
So he was not getting in.
But he was getting to the free throw line. He was 7 for 8 from free throw.
Yeah, but of course he's smaller, so it's to be expected. I will admit, having watched it, like for you, just want to get like the eye test of like, I did think he settled for a lot of threes that you just wish were, especially for a guy like him, you wish maybe they were trying to get the ball to people out a little bit more. Or I remember there was one in that exhibition against Indiana where he took it pretty deep. And there's a lot of, like, almost as if the shot clock was about to expire, but there were still several seconds left. And so you're just kind of like that's not the way. Especially when you're down and you're not being able to. I feel like between him and Chaz and a couple other guys, it's like we were struggling to score, and it was pretty tough. Also, the shot, like if you remember the score, shot clock just kind of turned off. The shot clock was on, but the scorer's table, I guess, in the arena was just turned off, so we couldn't get the stats. So we didn't even know what the score was for a minute there, unless you could see the outside ring, but I couldn't. That was pretty funny. But other than that, you could tell visibly that they weren't scoring any buckets, that the offense was pretty stalled. And I feel like there was several people just trying to shoot us out of it, and it wasn't really working. And it wasn't, like, again, defensively, Indiana's a good team, has a good players, some good scorers, and we were holding our own, more than holding our own, honestly. We were doing pretty well, causing turnovers. I mean, it looked pretty decent as far as we forced 14 turnovers against Indiana. Like, that's pretty good. We had 9 of our own, which isn't as nice, but Yeah, I mean, I feel like there were several who tried to get us out of the shooting slump, and it just didn't work out that game. But like I said, it's an exhibition. Overall, the team shot 30% from the field, unacceptable.
15 from three as well. 22,
23% from three. Not going to get you anywhere.
But instead of being only on the negativity, I do like that Jemai Mashack, I apologize, was 2 for 3.
Yeah, Jemai hit 2 threes. He's doing that. We had mentioned earlier about Jemai being one of the better perimeter defenders in the nation, and we were hoping that
this year.
Yeah, we were hoping that he would be able to. We had some rumors that his work on his shot over the offseason, he was getting some real improvements there, and it's so far so good. It's kind of showing off. But now on to like the start of the regular season. Yeah, that's just exhibition. We said before, like, don't put too much stock in it. But it is interesting to have some takeaways. As far as how the regular season opened,
Monday night, man.
Monday night against Gardner-Webb here in Knoxville. The Vols won 80-64, which is we were favored.
All right, we favored 27 points.
Yeah, well, you're a 27-point favorite. And honestly, they kind of pulled away there late towards the end of the second half.
It was a close game in the first half.
Was 8 at, I think it was 10-point lead or an 8-point lead at the half. At the very least, they kept it within a single digit lead most of the first half, if not like barely double digits. They were really hanging in there. Not gonna lie, the Bulldogs were hanging in there. The offensive woes were still alive and well.
Yeah.
We did get out to the early lead. We never trailed, and that's always good. I mean, again, the defense holds their own. Defense, like I said, I continue to not really have any problems with that, other than there is.
I talked about that in my article, just trying to see where the transfers and the returning players that didn't play as much, where they're going to buy in into that defensive system. But it seems like Rick Barnes has trouble.
Yeah, Rick Barnes doesn't recruit guys who can't buy into that system, and so defense is fine. I need to check the numbers on that, but the only thing I've seen has been like inside the paint. We've let up some. Inside.
I think
the paint.
The scoring was like 38-34. But we were up, like, we just allowed 30 points in the paint.
And so once we get, again, more fouls, more Coltons. I saw a few more from Felix and from others there. To that, and we could just kind of mention this briefly, but, like, because I do like Felix, and I do like the way Igor has been playing. Milton's been playing good.
For sure.
But JP Estrella and Cade Phillips got some minutes and got some time, and I know Cade Phillips had a pretty nice lob from Zakai. JP Estrella had to look pretty decent defensively down there. I think he had a block or two. Like, they look pretty okay there. And so I do think that front court.
Yeah, we were wondering about the front court.
I do think the front court is going to be very interesting. I think they're going to have to play that out for a couple to kind of find who sticks it. Because you do have, I mean, your choices are between two new transfers, big transfers, guys that have a lot of talent, a lot of potential, and then guys who've been in the program, good recruits, guys who've been in the program and who know the system. And right now, none of them look bad. I think they're going to have to really kind of play it out and see which one is going to take that. If I had to guess, I would think that Rick Barnes would be incentivized to really try to find a place for Igor, probably at the 4, but maybe even at the 5.
He's probably going to play the 4 if Philly.
Probably the 4.
To play as many minutes as he's playing.
I agree. I think because of that, I mean, he just opens it up. Any offense ever, and this is how basketball is played nowadays, but any offense ever where you can get a guy that has the ability to shoot threes and block and hang down low, like, you're just gonna have to find a place for him. It's kind of what we said about, like, Jemai with, like, he could be a 3-and-D player. Like, you're gonna have to keep him in the starting lineup. You're gonna have to find a place for him. And so then I think that leaves Felix and JP and Cade Phillips to kind of work out the center spot. And if it ends up being a rotation, it ends up being a rotation.
I think that's probably
who pops out as the main starter. I'm actually pretty interested to see it. Again, you do got a guy like Felix who's got all the physical presence and the height and the size and everything like that, and then you got these other guys who've been in the system who, play right, and they have good chemistry with Zakai and all of them. I mean, I love it. There's obviously a good problem to have, but that would be something to watch out for this upcoming game and the ones after. But some of our top performers, you get through some of the people who really impressed you.
The one that stood out for me was Chaz Lanier, especially coming off a bad game in the exhibition, man. I mean, he looked exactly like a 50-40-90 guy that was in North Florida. He led all scorers with 18 points on 7 of 12 shooting, 4 for 6 from 3.
That's exactly the kind of Chaz.
Really just, like, watching him play, like, not even just, like, because numbers, it sounds good, but, like, really watching him play, he looked really comfortable, like, coming off of those pin downs and maybe shooting a three or taking one more dribble and shooting a pull up. He did a post hook in the second half. He was slashing. Like he's a real deal 3-level scorer, and his game is like really simple and really smooth, but he can handle the ball like as well. So I really like seeing him in that role, and I think the more Rick Barnes finds success is seeing him like being able to shoot efficiently in that 3-level scoring. Not all the way don't connect, but like, okay, this is my guy that I can get off a pin down. He's going to go give me a bucket. I really like that from him.
Chaz 100% that play. I mean, I was thinking, I thought he was a little less efficient. He was pretty efficient on Monday. Like I said, 7 of 12 from the field, 4 of 6 from 3 overall, 18 points. I mean, that's the kind of score. I mean, he could just do that every night. I mean, that's the kind of scoring you need from, obviously, against Gardner-Webb. But, I mean, that kind of, when we talked about it, we talked about other players, but that kind of scoring translates usually. If he can able to find that and kind of work out all those kinks and get more involved in the offense, get comfortable, like that kind of scoring transfers. He'll be able to do that against, Arkansas, against Florida, and then against Gardner-Webb and whoever else we might face. Like, just the way that he plays, and like you so great described, like the way that he scores from all over, and his finishing ability, his 3-point ability, his ability to get to the line, like everything he does, like it works so well. One that we didn't discuss from the exhibition, and it should discuss now because he's really we honestly probably didn't do enough respect in discussing him too much in the previews. Jordan Gainey,
he looked
another 16 points on 7 of 9 against Gardner-Webb. He was leading us in scoring for most of the game. Like he was looking pretty good. I think he was leading us at half.
He was scoring on all levels as well because he only missed 2 shots. I think he was like 7 of 9 from the field with 16 points. And like what also stood out is that like these people are not really shooting free throws. Like those are buckets. Like they're getting like real buckets. I don't think Chaz had any free throw points. I don't think Gainey had any free throw points. Like his game was really smooth. I think Coach Barnes was allowing him to like handle the ball, like come out, like everybody back down, 2 men in the corner, 1 on the wing. All right, it's me and the big man, 2-man game. That really surprised me because that's not even like that's the guys were really really penetrating and seeing like if you could go get a layup or dump it out to the big man. But it was really Gainey that really stood out to me. Coming off the bench and being the second leading scorer with only missing 2 shots.
Yeah, he was second in scoring against Indiana. He had 12 points, looked pretty good. Honestly, even though I think Sakai had more points by the end because of free throws against Indiana, I think Jordan looked like the better scorer. He looked like the better player as far as like as far as the offense goes.
3 or 4 for 8.
He looked pretty decent. He looked decent again against the Bulldogs. I mean, I like him. I will admit we didn't do him enough respect because I didn't know what his place would be. Obviously, he was here last year. He had shown some signs. He'd pop off, have a game for like 20, 23 points, look pretty decent. Throw down a dunk where you kind of underestimated how athletic he was. And then the next game, you didn't see much from him, and he just I feel like he kind of went away. But now that players have moved away, I mean, he has every right to kind of prove himself and kind of put himself in the forefront and be like, no, I mean, that's what I'd like to see from them. I mean, that could, again, like I said, with the front court, it's same in the back court. Like, it's only a good thing for Jordan Gainey to kind of come out and be like, let's talk about Chaz Lanier and Darlington Stone and Sakai Zig. No, I want to put my name in that. I want to be the guy who has the ball at the end of the game. I want to be the guy that when the offense is stalled, you don't know you're trying to find me.
He can be in there.
I want you to find me. I want to take those shots, and so there's to only be a good thing, and the camaraderie around the team, like it's not going to be a bad thing. I hope these guys have competition, and I hope they play their best and inspire each other to play better and push each other, because that's what you get. Sky had a better game. He had 13 points, 9 assists, 7 rebounds. Yeah. I mean, 10, 5, and 5. That's
from a 5'9" guard. I mean, you can't.
That's pretty decent. We had said it in the preview that Zakai, we're looking at about like another. We said like 11 to 13 points
with 6 assists ish.
Yeah, so he's had, and so he's doing about that. What do you think about Zakai?
Kai is literally the engine of the team, man. You can't really be mad at him, but I do want him to shoot better. Like, he's probably just in a slump right now. I don't know exactly what he shot from the field, but I know it wasn't that great. But he is getting to the free throw line, so that does make up for the lack of making the shots in the regular game.
And I think with Zakai, it's more along the lines of like whenever he's so used to passing the ball. He's so used to being so intentional. So then when he is trying to score, like maybe like I had mentioned that I just wish he was taking better shots. Maybe it wasn't necessarily that I think he can't shoot or that he think he's not a scorer, but that like sometimes I'd see the shots that he'd take and I just wish that he would maybe take better shots, maybe try to assist.
Yeah.
But he also didn't get helped out on some days because I remember, and I just pointed out, I have a stat for it, but I pointed it out on like multiple times where I was watching, and we draw the shot clock down too low, and we were passing,
and then he got to chuck up.
And then somebody would throw it back to Zakai in the corner, and he'd have to chuck up another 3, and so then it's like it's not really on him. And then again with like other parts of the efficiency, if it was like whether down the road, whether it's turnovers or shooting percentage. It's whenever you're the point guard, whenever you have the ball, I would bet that Zakai, like over the course of the season, will probably have like the highest usage rate because everything flows through him.
I mean, he played 36 minutes the exhibition game, and the next leading person was like 20 minutes.
Yeah,
so he's going to play.
So whenever he probably has, like, he rarely gets out the court. I mean, he's always on. He's probably going to lead the team in usage rate
for sure.
So whenever you have a guy like that, like, he's going to show like those numbers are going to be kind of skewed. Is I don't want it to seem like. I think it might get like the box score might come across as he's a little more inefficient than he actually is. That's just the way he plays. And of course, defensively, being who you get a Tech this game or no, you got to get a Tech against Indiana. Yeah, but I love it. I want to see it. I want to see him get under people's skin. I want to see him be that guy that's like constantly under the. He's small, he's undersized, so he's constantly under dribbles and he's constantly throwing people off, and I love it. And I that's why he was defensive player of the year last year. That's why he could
probably do it
this year
for sure.
So. I love everything about it.
Yeah, but moving on to team success, we had a couple points that we talked about before the pod. But first, I'm going to start with balanced scoring. I mean, 3 starters with at least double digits, and you got 16 off the bench. You cannot beat that.
Yeah, we have 4 players at double digits on Monday. That's what you like to see, especially when you're losing a guy that was like leading the SEC in scoring. Was one of the biggest bucket getters in all of college basketball. And don't connect.
But I would much rather I enjoy Dawn more probably more than anybody. But I would much rather have us have balanced scoring because that's when I feel like when Dawn was going for his 30, going for his 40s, like he's having to do this for us to win. But if we can have 4 guys with 10, somebody has almost 20, then we got like 6 to 8 points from like our other big men and stuff like that. We are like a team putting up 80 to 90 points a game. I would much rather have that because it means that we're not just depending on one person just being stagnant and sitting around.
No, I agree. That's exactly what we had said going into the season. Is it's hard. You're not going to replace that more than likely. But what you can do is you can get guys to contribute you're not going to replace that with one player. But if multiple guys stepped up and contributed, like having 4 players in double digits, that's what you need. You need guys to come in, like you said, average 12 here, 14 there, 16 here, 18 there, and then now it adds up. And I don't know. I think that's probably what's going to get us farther. Honestly, is if you had a myriad of guys who can all get buckets, who can all be the last guy to take a shot.
But the point,
and they're going to work that out. Still more about like as far as like. Who is the guy that's going to take the main shots? Who is the leading guy? Who, if there was going to be somebody to just dribble up solo and call an ISO, like somebody's going to be able to do that. You're going to need somebody to be able to do that. Honestly, you're going to have one guy. But I like when I saw him.
To point out, Darlin Stone Dubois did not play. He averaged like 18 and 8.
Yeah, Darlin Dubois was unavailable to play.
I have to really I really have my real analysis of the team scoring and what I think is going to be for the rest of the season when I see a full healthy team.
Same. You want it to be fully healthy too. It's Gardner-Webb. You just have no disrespect. We just got to mention. They are playing against Gardner-Webb. Even in playing against Gardner-Webb, I will admit the first half was pretty slow. It was still pretty slow. I think at one point I saw they had like 15 points after 8 minutes or something. It was still pretty. It wasn't. With a fast-paced ball, they definitely picked it up towards the end and were able to get kind of pull away there. So maybe the final box score and the final score isn't necessarily as indicative of how the whole game was because they did kind of keep it closer. There was some times where they were struggling to shoot, struggling to finish. But like I said, again, it's so early in the season. That's the first regular season game. I don't put as much stock into that. You want to get second and third and 4 games in. We're about to play Louisville on the road. That's an actual ACC team. That'll be a big test. I'll have way more stock in that and how they look there on the road against a decent team. They're not ranked, but they're decent. We'll talk about it more later, but I'll have more stock in that than I would, again, Gardner-Webb because honestly, it's kind of an exhibition. It is technically a regular season game. It's kind of an exhibition. Rick Barnes can still play with lineups. He can still kind of experiment with stuff. He can run sets that he necessarily wouldn't bring out against the big teams yet. you know, you kind of open up the playbook a little bit like football. You open up the playbook a little bit and kind of run different things.
Another point, strong 3-point shooting. I think since I've been here, I'm a junior now. Tennessee shoots threes, man. Like there's literally, I can't say anything else since I've been here. Tennessee has
if 3-and-D was a team,
that's Tennessee.
Monsters.
I think we hit 10 or 11. We shot about like 36% from 3-point line. That's probably that's pretty good for a team.
That's good. 10 threes, double-digit threes.
35%. That's
north
pretty good
of
for a team.
35% from three. I think
that's pretty good. Plus, like I said, a surprise of Meshack hitting 2 threes. If he went 2 for 3 in the exhibition and went 2 for 4 in this game, if he's doing that, I mean, that's scary because Meshack is not known as a 3-point shooter because teams literally sag off him. Like he would shoot around threes versus Gardner-Webb because everybody like whoever is guarding him their feet are in the paint hoping for a rebound. So if he's able to shoot 3 to 4 a game and make 1.5 to 2, like that's all we need.
Yeah,
to be honest.
I mean, there's 2 back-to-back games. If he's had a couple of threes, knocked down some. If he can even be semi-reliable, even semi-reliable enough to like that the opposing defense will have to respect his shot.
Yeah, that's all we need.
It opens it. It just opens up the floor. It allows your big man, like I said, back to the big man, allows your big men to get in shots, that your big men to open up and give them space in the paint. Yeah, even being able to knock down 1 or 2 a game, like consistently, I think it will be huge for him, and it's a big improvement. He's gonna basically ensure his spot in the starting lineup by keeping that defense
which we were discussing in
exactly. I mean, you want to know how you do it because you don't want to lose that scoring. But if he can prove that he can knock down a shot here or there, like and be and guard the best player, then you really can't bench him. He'll get lots and lots of minutes, and he'll be great.
Yeah. Well, like I said, the first half of 3-and-D is obviously 3-point shooting, but then the second half is defense, man. Like I said, Rick Barr's system is all about defense. It's probably the only thing he teaches in practice. They doing defensive slides.
He coaches them like a high school team.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They did really well. They forced the team into commit like 12 turnovers, 15. I don't know. I don't really remember. I just know it was at least 9 steals. Could we fact check that?
Yeah, I got you.
How many turnovers did they have?
Well, we had more turnovers.
Yeah, for sure.
We forced 16, but we had 20. So I guess that maybe we need to clean that up too. Again, that's not acceptable, but still indicative of a team that's still getting used to each other, that's still trying to find. And having been there, there was a little bit of ping pong and back and forth of like we get the ball, they get the ball,
basketball.
But we were able to force turnovers. I mean, we had 9 steals in the game.
Meshack had his career high of 4.
Yep, 3-and-D again.
They didn't. Gardner-Webb didn't shoot well. We forced him to shoot like 38%, like 22% from 3. So that's a pretty good defensive game. You're making a college team shoot 38% from the field and 22% from 3.
Yeah.
I think the more the team gets healthier, like, because I think Dubar also averaged like 2 to 3 blocks, like in Hofstra. So if we add that rim protection as well, along with Akpara, then the defense, of course, they're gonna like the more we run together, they're gonna understand. Oh, this how this person rotates. This how this person rotates. I feel like the defense is only gonna improve. But that's a great game. Defensive wise of like where to start, especially against like the team. But like he said, like Gabe said, we will only see like with this test as the season progresses. I mean, we'll only see how much better the team gets. But like this test in Louisville, that's a better team than Gardner-Webb. So
yes, I think I was mistaken. I think I was looking at the wrong one. I think we had 15 turnovers.
And they had how many?
I'm trying to see how many they had, but yeah. We committed 15 turnovers, which gave Gardner-Webb 15 points off turnovers. 15, 20 turnovers. Either or is bad. It's not good. You don't want it. I mean, all the same points apply. You still want to get more comfortable with each other to kind of, again, I think that'll come with like more players like stepping up and like once roles are kind of established, I think that would go. But some basic things. I did, like, you want to get too technical. Like sometimes you would see a pass thrown to JP or even Felix down low, and I'm like, that's a tough pass. Like, you're giving it to him down at their hip, and you're expecting him to like bring it up to his shoulder.
Wait, was somebody
go up like so? That's just hard against a guy like 7 feet tall. Like that's hard. There was a few like technical things, but like that's just them getting.
Which I know this is what's gonna happen when you have a Forget or a Ziegler. So like he likes to pass. Like he wants to make the best play, so obviously he's going to make tough passes, see what works.
We were 12-19 from the free throw line. That can always
shoot like that's barely over 60%. I don't know.
Yeah, no, we could do better about that. That wasn't quite as that wasn't as good from us on that. We can it was a struggle we had last year too. I remember Dalton Connect even struggled with it.
He definitely it would feel like he couldn't hit two. Like he'll hit one, but like he'll make the first one like bet, and then he'll miss the second one. But I mean that'll improve. That just takes time in the gym, like by yourself and outside of practice, just understanding like we gotta hit free throws. I don't think and then like I said, Chaz didn't shoot any free throws. He shot 88% last season, so that's just something that'll get better for sure.
Yeah. Gardner-Webb played well. I mean, honestly, they played well for a small school.
Especially the first half.
I think when you got to come in and play Tennessee, you're basically like the sacrificial lamb for those teams. You're basically like the sacrificial lamb for those teams whenever you have to come into that first game. And I mean, sometimes it works out. Teams play really hard. You saw what happened to South Carolina losing to who did they even lose to? I know they brought in a team to come.
South Carolina did just lose.
Yeah.
You are right. I forgot all about that.
Let's see. Who beat them?
North Florida. That's crazy.
Yeah, North Florida.
That's what Chaz came.
North Florida 74-71. So, I mean, they paid them to come in and beat them like that. So that's obviously on the table, and honestly, it wasn't immune to us for a minute. We kept it pretty close. We never trailed, but we kept it pretty close. They looked pretty decent.
Yeah, but they were led by this guy named Daryl Simmons.
Yeah, he had 22 points. He played well. I mean,
that was a good game. He was playing pretty good ball. They also gave up 13 to two other starters, I believe.
Yeah, so they played well.
You're not expected to win that game. It's just like a matter of how you lose. You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't like a bad game.
It's that like that's how those teams make their money. They get paid. They come in and they play and they get slaughtered, and then they move on to the rest of their game. That's how they fund their program. But at the same time, like it's always good to try to compete in there and to talk on on their behalf. Like that is the way you want to lose. You go out there, you try, and you only hold it. Like at the end of the day, and we had mentioned this before. Like at the end of the day, like even if the game's close, like talent will always outlast.
Yeah.
And so eventually, there towards the end, when the Vols were really starting to pull away. That was just talent outlast. We just had better players, and that's always just going to overcome, like, as much as they're fighting. Like, that'll just happen, and that's fine. And it's a good way to open up the regular season. We have a few more cupcake games, if you will, ahead, but not this weekend because we have
SEC, man.
We will be playing Louisville. We have in Louisville. We got a one-on-one. We're one home, one away there. So we'll go away next year. They'll come to Knoxville, but we'll play them on Saturday. Like I said, the Vols are ranked 12th in the nation, top team in the SEC, expected to be top in the SEC. In Louisville right now, they're coming off a 93-45 win against Morehead State, so they took care of business better than we did. I mean, they kind of whooped them. What do you think about Louisville? Obviously, they're not ranked, but they're not a team you just overlook. Definitely.
I don't think I didn't watch their game, so I don't really know like what they do well, but I did after looking at the box score, I do think we're going to have a real front court battle because it has somebody has senior forward, like he's like 6'10" off the bench. He Kason Pryor, he had 18 points, 12 rebounds, and 3 blocks. And with Akpara, hopefully Dubar is back, but we don't know. But Akpara, Milicic, and even JP Estrella and K. Phillips coming off the bench, it's gonna be a real front court battle if he's like I said, he's a senior, so
he can put some pressure on us. We'll put some pressure down.
Might put some real pressure on us. Even with Zakai penetrate, because Zakai likes to run around the rim and like play around and get like a scoop layup. But yeah, and also I looked at another thing that stood out to me was the 42 points in the paint.
Yeah, you gotta play Morehead State, so it's that's competition. They probably don't got bigs like we did, but obviously if they could penetrate in the paint. When we gave up quite a few points in like 30 to Indiana.
We gave us something to Indiana. We gave like a lot to Indiana. And
I think we lost that battle to Indiana. So I mean, it's something to look out for. They definitely can penetrate. They definitely can score down low, and you want to make sure you kind of contain them there.
But I think this will give us more of a look of was the first game.
That's the big thing. That's what I would want to end with. Is I think to conclude, I definitely think that first 2 games out the way, 1 loss, 1 win. 1 counted, so 1-0 on the season. They look decent. They look good. Definitely are, fighting off that rust or shaking off the rust and kind of getting in the season form. And I think now that their 3rd official game or third game that they'll
It's
be
about
playing.
time to like you really figure out
Louisville, ACC on the road.
Yeah.
It'll be a big test.
Yeah,
I'm excited to come back and talk about what happened. Hopefully here to discuss a win, but I'm excited to have some better idea, have a little better knowledge on that. Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like it'll be a good game to really figure out like, okay, will Rick Barnes start another lineup, or what would his rotations look like? Will the minutes change? I really understand. Like I said, it's probably gonna take us. Did we play the ACC challenge this year again?
We will. We'll play Syracuse.
Okay. See, by then, I feel like by then, well, even before then, but probably by then for sure, we'll like know like, all right, this is this team. This is how far we're gonna go. But I like these build-up games. Like,
it's exciting. I mean, it's the exciting part of the year. Oh, it's only excitement. Only can be improved.
just really
The sky's the limit, and you gotta. And then they'll play themselves in the form, and we'll be right here to talk about how they're looking and how they're shaping up.
But yeah, man, it was a good episode, Gabe. We're gonna be right back, like you just said,
Here next week.
Hopefully with a win. If not, man, we're gonna talk about why we lost, what things that we can improve on. But again, man, I'm Jeremiah.
And Gabe.
And I appreciate you for watching. I'm just saying.